We are joined by the head coach of the U.S. men's national team, Gregg Berhalter. If you'd like to get in a queue to ask a question, you may do so by virtually raising your hand. We'll begin with opening comments from Gregg on tonight's performance.
Thank you, Michael. I think first off, thank you to the fans in Minnesota for creating an amazing atmosphere. You know, it's easy to say on a night like tonight, you'll just stay home and sit in front of the TV and to stay warm in your living room. But these fans came out and came out with energy and noise and really made it a great environment for us to play in. Secondly, just really appreciative of the players' mindset in a game like tonight, in a night like tonight. They battled through the conditions, but showed the determination and the grit to get a strong victory and a dominant performance. In the big picture, our goal in this window was to stay in second or to move to first place, and it looks like we'll do that after tonight. So happy as we move into the next window now. We're in position, and it's about closing it out in the next window. Looking at the performances of the group, a number of guys had really strong performances, but I'd like to single out Luca De La Torre for just an exceptional effort tonight. He was coach's man of the match and was all over the field and did a great job. That's the beauty when you give a guy an opportunity, he takes advantage of it. Thank you.
I should mention that we will be joined later by Walker Zimmerman and Luca De La Torre. We'll begin with questions and start with Stephen Goff from the Washington Post.
Gregg, congratulations on the victory. Honduras said a couple guys had to leave at halftime because of adverse effects from the cold. Were you aware of that? And in retrospect, does that make you think about having played here, given maybe some safety issues?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that, Steve? I didn't hear the first part of that question.
Honduras said a couple guys had to leave the game at halftime because of hypothermia or similar issues. Does that make you think about or reconsider having played in these types of conditions?
That's a really difficult question to answer. What I would say is that we provided Honduras and their staff and the referees with warm weather gear. We provided them with headgear and trying to make it a safe environment for them to play in. When we go down to those countries and it's 90 degrees and 90% dew point and it's unbearable humidity and guys are getting dehydrated and cramping up and getting heat exhaustion, that's the nature of our competition. When we scheduled this game in this location, you have to go by average temperatures, daily average temperatures, and it was the best guess. We wanted to minimize travel. We knew we were going to be playing in cold weather in 2 of the games, and we figured to do it in the 3rd game as well instead of switching climates. A cold spell came through, and it's something we can't control. But all we can do once that happens is try to mitigate the risk by having warm weather gear and going out there and competing, and we did that. So it's a difficult question to answer, Steve. I hope I didn't avoid it with my answer.
Next will be Doug McIntyre from Fox.
Thanks, Michael. Well, Gregg, congrats on the win. 2 questions, if I may. You singled out Luca De La Torre, but another terrific performance from Weston McKennie. How important was him scoring early on to kind of settle the nerves, given that this, like you said, was a must-win match? And secondly, just if you could explain the decision.
I didn't say it was a. Did I say it was a must-win match? No, I don't think I said it was a must-win match.
Sorry, Gregg. I thought you told the broadcast team that before the match. My apologies if that's not the case.
No, I think that it was an important match to keep where we wanted to keep it, to stay where we wanted to stay in the standings, and that was important. And right from the beginning, right from the opening whistle, much like the Costa Rica game, I knew that we were in good control. The warm up was really good, and we started the game positively. The early goal helped. The goal before halftime helped also. But I felt like we had good control of the game, and the guys were up for the game.
Sorry, Doug, did you have a second part?
I just asked about Weston specifically.
Yeah.
Also the decision on Christian, Gregg. Thank you.
Okay. So with Weston, he's a guy that leads by his performance. I thought he had an outstanding window. I thought you could tell that he's in big form at Juventus, the way he came into this window. And he's dominant. And I think he's one of the best midfielders in this region, if not the best. So it's great to have a strong performance from Weston. We've almost come to expect that from him. Regarding Christian, decisions like that are never easy. We still, the pre-game conversation with him was you're still going to affect the game, just in a different role. And, we had to do what we thought was best for the team and also put Christian in the best possible position to make an impact. And he did that today, and that's all you can ask of a player.
Next will be Paul Tenorio from The Athletic.
Thanks, Michael. Greg, goals on set pieces tonight haven't happened in qualification, hasn't happened since this summer. How important was that to show that you could score on set pieces? And considering Kellen's service, and typically he doesn't start games because he plays the same position as Tyler, how do you carry that into March? I'm
surprised you asked that. I was waiting for Sam to ask that question, but I'll address it anyway.
We're sitting next to each other.
We've been close on set pieces, and it has been frustrating for all of us that we haven't scored on set pieces in 10 games. And, we're trying. We're doing our best. Some of the plays we've become really close on, as you saw last week in Canada, on Sunday in Canada, was a close opportunity as well. So, and that was, without Kellen serving the balls. But Kellen's a specialist. He's really good at set pieces. It was good to see the execution tonight. And, we moved into the +2 now in goals over qualifying and set pieces. We've given up 1, we scored 3, so that's always good.
Next will be Ron Blum from the Associated Press.
Hey, Greg. Looking at games like today and all the 11 games so far, do you see any common threads on days you play well versus days you don't play well?
Not really. I mean, well, I guess the common thread could be away from home. We haven't been we haven't gotten the results that we have at home. So that's one thing. And it's always tricky. There's always different conditions. There's always different circumstances that make playing on the road in CONCACAF extremely challenging. And we all know that. I knew that as a player, and now I know that as a coach. So, but what I'd say is that home field is a huge advantage for us. We play really well at home, and that's a positive thing. The formula for qualifying is to win your home games and have at least a point per game on the road. So that's what we'll try to do next window.
Next will be Grant Wahl.
Hey, Greg, congratulations on the win.
Thanks, Grant.
If there was a trend in the lineup tonight, it seems like you went with some guys that you haven't gone with as starters very often in a game where 3 points was really important. What do you learn from that? And are there more guys now that you feel like you can trust in big situations?
Well, all we could do is gather information and watch the guys train and watch what they're doing at their clubs, and then envision how they can play for us, and then put them in position to perform for us. And that's what you ask. You ask guys like Luka, when they get the opportunity, that they can step up and take advantage of it. And that's what he certainly did. But there's other guys. When you think of Reggie Cannon, who played a very good game today, was relentless on the right-hand side. Ricardo Pepe, I thought, had a good game, even though he didn't score a goal. Part of our plan in the window was to get him rest and then use him in a night like tonight. So I'm glad to see that. And overall, pleased with the group performance. But it definitely makes things easier when you have guys perform at a high level and you have a number of players to choose from. I thought Jordan Morris was also gave the opponent problems today. So overall, pleased with the performance of the group.
Next will be Jeff Carlisle from ESPN FC.
Thanks, Michael. Hey, Greg. Touching on a couple players you mentioned earlier, you talked about Kellen Acosta's set-piece delivery, but what did you make of his overall game and kind of, filling in for that role that Tyler Adams usually occupies? And the goal that Christian got, I mean, how much of a boost do you think that can give him? And is that something that can really propel him forward, or is that something that's just going to have to shake out over the coming weeks?
You know, I think the hardest thing to do as a coach is to talk to a player and tell him that you support him and you're behind him 100%, and then you don't start him. Because the players feel somehow that you're not supporting him. And for Christian, it was a very difficult decision, but I felt it was a decision that was made to put him in the best possible position to make the impact that we know he can make. And that's why when he's in those positions on the field, he has the quality to make finishes like that and to score goals like that. And that's the impact that he made for the group and really helped seal the victory for the team. So, you know, it's never easy, you know, when you're a player, a high-profile player, and you're not in the form of your life. And that those things are very hard to always capture, especially when you're at a club like Chelsea. But he's a guy that means a heck of a lot to this team. He's, you know, one of the top performers in our team over this stretch of time, and he's going to be a huge contributor to what we do moving forward. That's for sure.
Next will be Ivis Galarcep from SBI Soccer.
Greg, congrats on the win.
Thanks.
Yeah, two for me. Christian, obviously, when it's 2-0, you guys are pretty much in control there. Was there any thought of maybe changing up your plan and not bringing him in, or was it really important for you to get him in and hopefully, you know, have him in this window on a positive note? And as far as Luca de la Torre goes, he's someone who is rating very well in Holland. He's not putting up goals and assists, but he's you know, being considered one of the better midfielders in the Dutch league. What have you seen from him there, and what did you see from him this week that led you to put him in this spot, in this big spot?
So part of it was just training. We watch him play at his games, and he does a very good job in his games, keeping the ball moving, connecting passes. The one thing that I agree that we haven't seen is goals and assists from him. And, you know, that's something that we look forward to from our midfielders, that they can contribute in that aspect. But watching him in training throughout the week, you could see that he got up to speed with the group, and then he was ready for this challenge. And all you can do is put players in position, then they need to do the rest. And he certainly did that. What was the other part of your question, Ivis? Sorry, I missed that.
It was about Christian.
About Christian? Oh, yeah. So, you know, if you ask any coach, being up 2-0 is a terrible lead to have. You always want you want to get up 3-0. So it was important that we put him in to get the third goal, and he did that.
Next will be Sam Stejskal.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks, Greg. How do you think the field held up tonight? Obviously, adverse conditions, you're not expecting it to be perfect, I'm sure. And what kind of impact, if any, do you think the weather had on the way the game played out? And then last thing, you were seen on the broadcast taking pictures with some fans during a stoppage late in the game. Obviously, that's a pretty unusual thing to see. Can you talk through that moment and why you decided to do that?
Yeah, you know, these guys are out there freezing their butts off and really just sacrificing to be there to support the United States of America. And there was a long break in time, and they asked, can they get a picture? And I said, guys, we'll do it after the game. And then during that time, during that long break, I said, hey, let's take advantage of this now. And I quickly went over and took a picture with them. And, you know, a lot of respect goes out to Minnesota United and their staff and U.S. Soccer and our staff and putting this game on and getting this game going. The conditions were adverse, but the field was great. The field played really well. They took good care of it up to this game. You know, they got seats in the stands. They got a great atmosphere going. So overall, you know, in difficult conditions, really proud of U.S. Soccer staff, Minnesota United staff, but also the players for battling through that. It was difficult conditions, and they did a great job.
Next will be John Lupo from Vavel.
Greg, I know you were asked earlier about the set pieces, but as you said, you hadn't scored on set pieces in the last 10 matches. What was the difference tonight, and what does it tell you about how well the team's playing and where the team is at that you were able to turn that around and get goals, all three goals being on set pieces tonight?
It's important. Again, we want to be in the positive in set pieces. We think that's a big advantage that we have, and we haven't been converting our opportunities. But looking, at the process of it rather than the results of it, we've had good opportunities to score, and we just haven't scored. Starting with the first game against El Salvador, Miles Robinson has an open header from 6 yards out. That could easily have been a goal. Weston in the last game had the goalie made a great save, and if he puts it anywhere else, it's probably a goal. So, in terms of the process, I've been happy with both offensive and defensive set pieces, and tonight we got the results of it. We got conversion from it. So to get 3 goals is always good. It puts us in the positive.
Next will be Jonathan Tanenbaum from the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Thanks. Michael, Greg, there was a lot of heat on you and pressure on this team in the last few days to a degree that hasn't always been seen with this program over the years. And I wonder what you make of that and of answering it tonight the way that you guys did.
Yeah, I think when you talk about pressure, I think you're referring to external pressure. And that could be the media pressure. But what I'd say, Jonathan, is that there's no amount of pressure the media can put on me that I'm not putting on myself. And we have very high demands for this program. And we desperately want to get this right and qualify for the World Cup for the players, for the fans, and for our country. The staff puts a ton of work into this. And we're working with a really young team. And when you think now we're almost at 1.9 points per game, that's pretty darn good. So all we do is keep going, and we keep putting pressure on ourselves to perform, and that's our process. We look at things, we refine things, and we get better every single day. That's what we're focused on.
We'll take 2 more questions for Greg and then have Luca De La Torre available. Next will be Charles Bohm from MLSsoccer.com.
Hi, Greg. Two-parter for me. I know you've been focused on this window, but you have traditionally the 2 most difficult trips that the program faces in Mexico and Costa Rica. Next window in the run-in. I don't know if you've thought about that, but what your approach is to that early on here. And second, I understand your explanation of playing in these conditions. Do you foresee this being something that will always be the case in qualifying, that sort of this approach is needed, or will there ever be a point where the Federation would not need to schedule a game in extreme conditions like this?
Yeah, well, that's another tough question, and the reason why is because you're acting, or you're asking the question, insinuating that we're the only ones playing in these type of conditions. Canada scheduled the game up in Hamilton, and it was in the teens, and so for us, again, we're trying to minimize travel in this window, and trying to keep the weather somewhat consistent, and that was our focus. And the third thing is we want to win our home games. So, that's a really difficult question for me to answer, because for us, we see our home field as an advantage, and playing in conditions that the opponent's not used to, also an advantage for us. I don't know, it's not common that we play in January, that we have World Cup qualifiers in January. Due to COVID, we had to reschedule. They had to put this January window in. So, I'm not sure if it will continue or not. But I know that we've had some historic wins in adverse conditions. Mexico and Columbus, the Denver game against Costa Rica, and these 2 last games in Columbus and Minnesota have been big wins for the program.
Last question goes to Brian Sciaretta from American Soccer Now.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Greg. Congratulations.
Thanks,
I just wanted
Brian.
to ask you about Walker Zimmerman. He was a guy who was not on your initial roster in October, and obviously he's performed well, and you could touch upon that, but also the decision to give him the armband tonight. How has he grown within this team in a leadership role where you feel comfortable with that gesture and his role within the team? And that's a pretty dramatic rise when you consider where he was in October, but if you can comment on both on the field and off the field contributions.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure in other camps, in other qualifiers, he wore the captain's band as well, yeah. And in the Bosnia game in December, he wore the captain's armband. He's been a leader since day one with us. And the day one is January of 2019. And, any specific decisions that we make in one window don't reflect the person's standing in perpetuity. That can change. And for Walker's case, an example of him changing, him playing in a big game, performing extremely well, and holding on to his position. The national team is extremely competitive for spots. And when guys come in and perform, they keep their spots. And Walker's certainly done that. And not only that, but his demeanor, his mindset on and off the field is really helpful for the group. He has experience, but he's also calm, and he has a calm intensity to him that really helps the group perform.
This was the 5th time that Walker has captained the U.S. national team, the record 4-1-0 when he wears the armband. Thank you very much, Gregg. We'll be back with Luca De La Torre.